I started racing when I was about 8 years old. I grew up in New York City, Queens. We would do races in Central Park and in Prospect Park every weekend. We had a lot of European influences, so I felt like I was kind of thrown into the mix quite early on, and I got to get a lot of valuable experience as a kid. And in New York, you race against a lot of bullies, so to speak, and I was pushed around quite a bit then when I was a young kid, and I think that's really helped my career and helped me be able to be one of those riders that can position themselves really well in the peloton, which has helped me be successful throughout my career. Also, cycling was a big family sport for us. It wasn't like I was doing it on my own. I had a lot of support from my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister, and that was crucial and key to helping me progress. Well, I started my career pretty much as a sprinter. I was a pretty wild kid, did not have any fear. I actually had a really bad crash in the 1995 Tour of Spain, where I was going, it was a downhill sprint. I was going for the win, and I got taken into the barriers at 40 miles an hour. And from that moment on, I've kind of lost my sprinting edge, in particular in big groups. I could still sprint pretty well in smaller groups, but I always had that little bit of fear from that one day in the Tour of Spain in '95. And then back in the postal years with Lance, we really needed climbers on the team, and I sort of trained as much as possible in the mountains. Did a lot of interval work in the mountains and tried to be there for Lance and the team during the crucial stages of the Tour de France. And that kind of changed my body around. I got a lot leaner and skinnier and lost a little bit of the speed. But now where I'm at now, I can still sprint pretty well, and I can time trial okay. I can do everything pretty decent, and on a good day, I can hang with the best in the world, and on occasion I can beat them and go for the stage wins or individual wins myself. Well, initially when I chose to sign with BMC, it was very appealing to me to be part of Jim Ochowicz and Andy Reese's program. These guys. Jim Ochowicz is sort of the grandfather of U.S. cycling. Without him, a lot of the U.S. riders wouldn't be where we are at right now. And I've kept a close relationship with him ever since the Motorola days. So when the opportunity to go back and actually race with him was presented to me, it was really appealing to me. But also the fact that BMC needed me to help them become a world-class, sort of one of the top teams in the world. Really appealed to me as well. I've been on the best teams in the world my whole career, and I sort of wanted a different challenge. So when it was presented to me to be part of a team that needed me to help them become help them go where they wanted to go, was very exciting to me. And actually, we took a big jump as soon as we signed Cadel, and we became one of the world-class teams. And now. The pressure is there to continue to hold on to that role and protect the world champion and go for wins, the biggest wins in the world. Cadel won the stage of the Giro today, and I think he's definitely one of the big favorites for the Giro, and I would believe for the Tour de France as well. Team BMC's goals for the Tour de France are pretty simple. Cadel's been second 2 times, and the way he's riding this year, I would have to think that he is a favorite for the win. So we're going to have to send the best team possible there. We got a lot of experienced guys that can help them, especially in the first week with the cobblestones. It's going to be an exciting tour from the beginning to the end. I don't think we're going to be the team that needs to control it from the beginning, but we'll be the team that can gain a lot from the first week of the Tour de France. And if he continues to ride as he does, if he can put some time on his rivals in the first week, then we're going to have a real good shot for the win and definitely the podium. I believe that teams like Radio Shack and Astana will have to control the race from the beginning. Obviously, Saxo Bank as well. So there's going to be 2 or 3 teams that will have the main pressure on them, and obviously a couple of the other teams will have to contribute at some point. Well, my goals for the tour are pretty similar as in the past. I'm going to help my leader as much as possible, but definitely keep an eye out for opportunities, for breakaways. A stage win would be great. I'd love to win another stage of the Tour de France. Well, winning the national championship jersey is very important for any rider. They get to basically represent their country throughout the world. for the whole season. For me in particular, it was very important for me to get the win. In Greenville, it's my hometown. Pretty much had the whole city out there cheering me on, which makes for a lot of pressure, but if you're able to pull it off, it makes it all worth it. So to win that day last year, right in front of my hometown, all my friends, my family, was a very special day for me. And definitely 2010 will be another big goal for me. It's always hard for me. I've won it there 2 times, and I definitely have a bullseye on my back. But we'll be going there with a great team. Actually, the first time ever I'll have a real team at that race. So BMC will be well represented, and hopefully we have a great chance of winning again. The Tour of California becomes Pro Tour next year. I don't know how much it'll change it. I know that most of the best Americans are going to do it anyway. And it's nice, like you said earlier, it's nice to have some of the smaller teams some of the smaller U.S. teams being able to showcase their talent, and a couple of those guys will be able to become Pro Tour riders in the future based on their rides at the Amgen Tour of California. So, I mean, there could be a little give and take there. Obviously, if it's a Pro Tour team, a lot of those small teams, Pro Tour race, a lot of those small teams won't be able to do the race. There'll probably be 1 or 2 wild card selections, I'm guessing. So I think the format that it's in now allows a lot of these small U.S. teams to race it and to showcase their young guys, and hopefully build some of the young U.S. riders for the future. But if it's a Pro Tour race, we're going to have a lot more Pro Tour teams here, obviously, and I don't think it'll make it any harder because the Americans take it quite seriously, and you have most of the best Americans here. So as far as for the fans' perspective, I don't think it will change much for them. My favorite thing about the Tour de France would have to be the attention the race gets. For the month of July, cycling is definitely on the minds of a lot of Americans. It's become a favorite sport of a lot of Americans that never knew anything about cycling. When I was a kid growing up and trying to make it as a pro cyclist, everybody just thought I was weird, an outsider. Why don't you try different sports? But now people really are starting to understand the sport. So my favorite thing about the Tour de France is the attention that it gets here in the United States. Worst thing is probably the same thing, the attention it gets. I mean, we have a lot more demand on our time. People are always watching. There's a lot more pressure on us. So it's a love-hate relationship, I would say. I've done the tour so many times, and a lot of these climbs we've done many times before in the past. Occasionally they throw in a new climb. I'll sometimes do a training camp in the Pyrenees just because I live near the Pyrenees and see some of the stages. But I'll kind of glance the stages throughout the months prior to the race, but never really memorize it until we get to a week before the Tour de France, or actually get the Bible in hand, and I'll start memorizing it. But even then, I'll look at a couple days in advance and not really try to look too far beyond that. Well, Lance is like he said, he's unsure of his condition. He mentioned that yesterday at the press conference. But he got 3rd place last year in the Tour, and I believe he'll be better this year with a year of racing behind his belt. He's had a up and down season up until now, but his focus has been on the Tour the whole year. And I believe at this stage in our career, unless you have 1,000% motivation for a race, it's really hard to get the body going. I know for me in particular, if I'm just doing a race for training, I can't really go past that point of no return, where you're just hurting so bad that you don't know why you're doing it anymore. But the races that I'm really focused for, I can really drive myself into the ground. So that's one thing that's changed in the latter part of my career, is that I can't really just kill myself in every race. It's only the races that I'm really mentally prepared for, and that I really want to try and win. So maybe he has the same sort of thing going on, where the first part of the year hasn't really meant that much to him, even if he doesn't admit it, or even if he's not saying it publicly. But if he just has that ounce of doubt in the beginning about races that aren't as important to him, I don't think he'll be able to push himself beyond that pain barrier. But obviously the Tour de France is his major goal, and once he gets in there, I think that he'll be able to get into that red zone and push himself harder than he has in the beginning of the year. So that'll really, I think, show a change in his fitness and his results. I believe it's going to be more difficult for Lance to win the 2010 Tour than other years. Obviously, he said a great point yesterday in the press conference that a lot of these other riders, his rivals now seem to be better than his rivals before. These guys that are up and coming are pretty amazing, and there's a lot of depth too. It's just not one guy. It's the Schlecks and Conador and I'm probably missing. I'm sure I'm missing some guys, but Cadell Evans, Sastre. These guys are on their day can climb and time trial pretty amazingly. So he's got a stiff competition ahead of him. Yeah, the rivalry between Tom Boning and Mark Cavendish. It's a typical sprinter rivalry. They're going to want to win races as much as each other, and if they bang into each other near the final, they're going to have some words. But I think there's definitely a ton of mutual respect there between the two. And as far as who is more successful, you can't really say. Tom's won pretty much everything. Mark's starting to win pretty much everything. So, they would be two guys that any team would want them. They're both young guys. They're both going to be racing against each other for a while. So I just think that sort of rivalry is good for the sport. It makes it exciting. But there's definitely, I know for a fact, there's definitely a lot of respect between them.